Welcome to this short demo video for ConnectIT 365, where I will show you how to set up automatic processing for import and export definitions. For automation of the definitions, we use the job queue entries. I'm using the connected manager role, and here we can see that we have direct access to the job queue entries. We use a single code unit for processing, the idyn task scheduler. However, to process both import and export definitions, we will have to set up two separate job queue entries. Here you can see that I've already set them up. If we look at them, you see we use the code unit, and here of course you can see that's the idyn task scheduler, and we use a parameter string. For export, this is simply export, and for import, this will be import. To finish the setup of the job queue entry, we need to set up the recurrence. In this case, I have set it up to run every day with a frequency of 10 minutes. Additionally, you can set up info about the maximum number of attempts and the rerun delay, which I usually set to the maximum number of attempts at 3 with a rerun delay of 10 seconds. If we want to process import definitions, we need to do the same, but simply with the import parameter string. And as you can see, I've also set that up with a frequency of 10 minutes. To complete the setup and start the job queue entry, you simply need to use the action set status to ready, and from then on it will run with this configured recurrence. This will check for the given direction in the parameter string when the definitions need to be executed. All that's left to do to complete the setup for automatic processing is to go to a specific definition that needs to be executed automatically and set up the recurrence on the definition card. This contains pretty much the same options as the job queue entry. However, you can set this up for each definition separately. As you will see, if we select one of the days, the recurring job will be set to true, which will then be filtered by the task scheduler to check whether or not it can be executed. We can also set up a starting and ending time if the definition needs to run between specific times. And of course, we can also set up the number of minutes between runs in this definition. If the number of minutes between runs is lower than the number of minutes between runs in the job queue entry, it will still look at the frequency of the job queue entry, since that determines the check whether or not the definition needs to be executed. So if it's set to 0, in my case, I've set the job queue entry to 10 minutes, so it will run every 10 minutes. However, if I would set this to 60, it would only run every 60 minutes. And if it's executed, the last run date and time will be visible over here. These settings are the same for the import definitions. Once they've been set up and the job queues have been set to active, the behavior for the import definitions will be that there will be an import entry created through the method that is set up in the import definition, and that import entry is processed according to the definition. On the export definition side, this depends on if we use table monitoring. If we don't use a table monitor, all records for the root data item, optionally configured with a filter, will be added to the queue on the scheduled time that's been configured in the definition. However, if we use the table monitor, it will only add records to the queue if those records and modification types are monitored in the export definition. If we go back to the export definition, we can configure this. We can see here that we have the table monitor available based on the root data item that we have chosen. We can set this to active, and we can choose if we want to monitor the insertions or the modifications or both. And we can also select if we only want to monitor specific fields that are changed. If I set it up to only monitor modifications, for instance, and I only select the field unit cost, then only if the unit cost on the item is changed, it will add the item record to the export queue. From here, regardless if we use the table monitor or not, the job queue entry for the export definitions will process the export queue and create an export entry, and from there it will process the export entry according to the chosen method on the export definition. That concludes our video for the automatic processing of import and export definitions. Thank you for joining this video. If you have any questions, you can contact us at sales@idyn.nl.